Guys, I just want to make a quick video today on my laptop because currently I'm fixing my other main computer that, I wanted to talk about how Fallen the Virtuous is a way to now lock if you want to opt to not run Sanctifier. And I haven't seen a lot of people catch on to this, but it's like one of those just kind of givens that when you see a card like Fallen the Virtuous that says if you can revive one monster in either graveyard and special summon it to your field as a quick effect, as a card that you can actually set in the end phase off of Albion the Branded Dragon. There was bound to be some shenanigans at some point, right? People were afraid of Abaku for a similar reason. And here we now have Archlord Christia, which is a sendable light monster off of Grand Guignol, so it fits into the Ido lock. And we can just set Fallen the Virtuous and basically do the whole Christia lock on any one card Fallen of the White combo that we would normally do. So I wanted to show you guys off that and then just talk about, is this going to be good? Is this going to be the way to play it? Are there advantages to doing this over Ido? I know big scary Ido and Sanctifier, but that's the thing. You don't have to run the Ido. You don't have to run the Sanctifier. And I think the biggest part is that Ido is kind of mid right now because of the fact that a lot of people are running Fallen of the Virtuous, which if you Fallen of the Virtuous pop an Ido, then the Ido will be special summoned to your field on your own turn, and unless you have like 5 monsters on the board, you can't really prevent that. So I think that Archlord Christia is perhaps a safer option that also just works better with Fallen of the Virtuous. So I think like the biggest advantage of being able to do this kind of Christia lock is basically being able to play around my meta, because a lot of the time, turn 0 5 meta can blow you out, or even like turn 0 Holly Sue, I guess turn 0 Azuno if you want to play around that too. What you can do is, a lot of the time you will keep the Fallen of the Virtuous in your hand no matter what, because it allows you to combo in the end phase. So what you can do is keep the Fallen of the Virtuous in your pocket to then play around the 5 mana or play around the Holly Sue while you also have the Christia set up. So this is something when you're playing against like dracotail or BSK9, which are two of easily the best decks right now. I think the Christia is actually just like better into those matchups 100% of the time. And you could still even run the Sanctifier, because this could be a way to play around things like Bestials as well in other matchups, right? Or Called by the Grave, because you can go Sanctifier, target the Christia, and then they'll have something, and then you can just go Fallen the Virtuous, revive it anyway, or vice versa. So I actually think that the more I talk about this, it's actually more convincing that I really like the Archlord Christia as an option in Branded over something like an Ido going into the next format, because a lot of people are going to be running Fallen the White, and if people are running Fallen the White Dragon, they're going to be running Fallen the Virtuous. And, I've been running Ido, but it feels like it doesn't feel good to run Ido right now because of the fact that everyone has Fallen the Virtuous. So we need a card that plays around that. I think actually Christia plus this the Fallen in the Virtuous lock actually does a lot in order to combat the meta as well, which I really like about this. So that's like kind of smart. All right, so this is going to be with your standard Fallen the White Dragon combo, 1-card combo. This is why we love it, because we are able to, be able to basically play through hand traps while having a great 1-card starter that doesn't require a normal summon. And this also gets you to a lock, whether you go through the Ido side or this side, but this side it feels a lot easier to get to. So I'll show you guys why. We go Fallen the White Dragon, effect, send the Albion the Branded Dragon to the graveyard. And there's also multiple ways to do this, by the way. So Fallen the White Dragon effect, go Ecclesia, and then we can go Ecclesia effect to tribute itself to special summon out a Sword Soul from our deck. We'll go into the Golden Sword Soul and then synchro off the Albaz in order to go into the the Ecclesia of the Dark Dragon, and then go Ecclesia effect to go to the Cartesia, which will then trigger the Golden Sword Soul to special summon out the Ecclesia, and then we are going to be able to then fusion off with the Cartesia effect into a Grand Guignol, and then Grand Guignol effect is going to happen in order to then send the Christia. You could actually send a Titanclad here too. You actually don't even have to run double Guignol for this, which I really like, because once you get the Christia in rotation, it's kind of there. With this 1-card combo, it's a lot more low to the ground though, so you have to be careful with this. I think this is kind of all-inning your board on a lock, and like I said, if you have Fallen the Virtuous, if you have another extender, you could keep the Fallen and the Virtuous in your hand to play around things like Fine Mana or Holly Sue in those situations. So now we can go Ecclesia back to field, and then we can go Albion effect to then set or add the Fallen and the Virtuous, really just whatever you want to do at that point, right? And then we can add back the Ecclesia and the Cartesia if we want. And then something to note is that if you have an Ecclesia monster on your field or your graveyard, you can activate this. So as long as we have Ecclesia the Black Dragon and the Dark Dragon on the field, we can actually go Fallen the Virtuous. So we can add back the incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous there. However, if you want to use this effect right and then it's banished off the field, you do have to keep the Ecclesia in the graveyard. So I kept the Ecclesia in the graveyard, but you know, if you need the extra discard, go for it. And here it's just a simple Fallen the Virtuous into Christia. So do I like this? I like it into Dracotail and VS K9, and because those are such relevant matchups, right? We don't know what the ban list is going to look like. If the ban list ends up going towards a more Dracotail focused hit, if like VS K9 also gets another heavy slap, I think that maybe we could go back to running. I mean, I still think the Fallen, I think the main issue with Ido though, I think Ido is a better card than Christia, because Christia almost hand loops you basically, so it's really tricky. However, a lot of the time you get your effects in the end phase, so you really play around the fact that Christia goes back to the top of your deck, right? Like you're going to be shuffling your deck most likely by the end phase of your opponent's turn because you sent a Albion the Branded Dragon or something like that. But this can also, right, play around the Fine Mana, play around the turn 0 Holly Sue. So I think that actually has a ton of application for this type of meta, and why I think until a ban list hits, maybe you should be considering Christia in your main deck instead of Ido. Post Fallen in the post Burst Protocol, and it's releasing here in a couple weeks, right? And we're going to be making content every single day on it, whether it's a live stream, whether it's a full video, or whether it's a short, but I think 99% of it will be videos and live streams, making guides maybe on things that have developed since I made the 40-hour guide, or just things that I wasn't able to go more in detail with, or, you know, I know the fact that a lot of people don't have the time to watch a 40-hour guide. I think why I made it was I had so much content, and I've always wanted to make a very long video like that. I really like people like Jordan Fringe, and obviously April inspired me to do that too. So I wanted to kind of challenge myself with that, but I think like having these more bite-sized kind of guides will also be useful for the people who just want to learn the deck as long as the new support's coming out, because I still see people being like, "Oh, is Fallen the White Dragon good and Branded Thespian?" It's like, yes, like this thing's a one-card combo, right? Like if I had Branded Fusion in that hand and they ash my Fallen the White Dragon, then I just go for Branded Fusion, right? So it's just kind of what it is. And a lot of people might just wait for your Ecclesia the Black Dragon to come onto the board to ash you, but in my opinion that's totally fine, because then I just use it on their turn, right? And then they have to use 2 cards to stop it, and the start card still gets me to, you know, basically an extender or a board break or a combo piece on the end board. So yeah, guys, what did you think of the Christia lock? Will you be running this over Ido? Are you even running the lock right now? I know a lot of people aren't because of the Ido interaction, but maybe this will bring back some people. I just think it's you know, when you're looking at broken decks like Dracotail and Vanquish Soul, this is just definitely a good option to consider. I think if you aren't choosing to run the lock, I think you can run things like Light and Darkness Dragon Lord. I think this card has always been just like one of your best power plays in Branded through things like Branded Retribution, but I think once again with things like Cartesia, you'll always be able to get into other combos. So I think, like, you know, consider Light and Darkness Dragon Lord if you're not gonna be running the lock. And let me know down below. Let me know why or why not you're running the lock. Do you once again like this combo or not? Let me know. And we'll be seeing you guys later. Check out my website if you want to help support the channel. Subscribe today, leave a like, all that fun stuff. We were on the road to 20,000 subscribers, guys. Hopefully gonna try to make a big push for that, basically. And you know, I think my goal of 25k by the end of the year is definitely doable as long as I put in the work. And you know, I appreciate you guys for checking out the content. So we'll be talking to you guys later. Minigames GX signing out. Hopefully the last time on my laptop. We'll see. I was like looking over here on my side camera, since I'm usually looking at the side. It's crazy. I'm just doing the face up with my gaming laptop, but at least this thing works. So yeah, I'll be seeing you guys later. Bye now.